It's funny how life can twist in ways we never expect. One day you're on top of the world, maybe you've got the corner office at a major company, the kind of title that carries weight, and the next you're lying in a hospital bed battling an illness that seems to defy logic. That's where I found myself one cold grey morning in Boston, paralysed by uncertainty and surrounded by whispers of mortality. I was a Liliana Mercer, once revered in boardrooms, now just a shell of my former self, grappling with the mistake of believing that success insulated me from vulnerability. But right outside my sterile room, below the harsh fluorescent lights, there was Jonah Graves, a janitor with a heart full of hope and a life story that would bring me to my knees in ways I'd never imagined. Jonah faced demons of his own, raising his daughter Sienna alone after losing his wife, navigating a world that often overlooked him. People would pass him by trapped in their assumptions about who he was because of what he did for a living, just a janitor dismissed as unimportant. I get it. I did it too. Our paths seemed so different, and yet in that sterile hospital room, we were both straddling the line of desperation. I was drowning in the uncertainty of my illness, and Jonah was wrestling with the haunting fear of failure, a father desperate to rewrite his daughter's future. Little did we know our lives were about to intertwine in a way that neither of us could foresee, igniting a healing journey that would challenge everything we thought we knew about strength, resilience, and the power of human connection. I remember the night it all changed. The air was thick with tension, cloaked in fluorescent lights that cast a harsh glow on the sterile walls of the hospital. I took a deep breath, clutching the small jar of remedy that I hoped would be the key to saving a Liliana Mercer. It wasn't just a concoction. It was the only glimpse of hope I could offer, born from memory and desperation. But as I stood outside her room, the doubt crept in. "Who do you think you are, Mariah?" her assistant sneered, blocking my path. "You really think a janitor has anything to say about medicine?" I swallowed hard, feeling the heat rise in my chest. "I just want to help her. I've lost so much already." She cut me off with a scoff. "Help. You're out of your depth here. This is a hospital." Every word felt like a slap. Did she even see me? Or was I just the invisible man, a reflection of a world that often overlooked those in scrubs, those without diplomas from prestigious universities? But the thought of giving up on my daughter's future and on a Liliana tore at me. That night, each step toward the room was like climbing a mountain. I pushed the door open, and there she was, pale and frail, lying in a sea of white sheets, her power stripped away. "Who's there?" she croaked, her voice shaky. "Jonah. I'm just a janitor, but—" I held out the jar, trembling. "I think this can help. Help." Her brow furrowed, disbelief evident in her eyes. But as I spoke, sharing the story of my daughter's skin condition and the remedy that healed her, I saw that flicker of curiosity spark. "Why would you risk your job for me?" she asked softly, the weight of her words hanging in the air. "Because I can't lose anyone else," I replied, anger and pleading intertwining. "I won't watch another life slip away. You're more than just a CEO to me. You're a person in pain." In that moment, with her future at stake and my hope clinging to the fragile thread of possibility, something shifted. Walls crumbled, and for the first time I felt seen. Underestimations turned to fragile trust. And damn it, I would fight for it for both of us. The fight wasn't over, it was just beginning. It was supposed to be a simple act of hope, just one night under the flickering fluorescent lights of Boston Medical Center. I decide to bring my little jar of homemade remedy to Eleliana. But then there's Mariah, holding her clipboard like a shield, looking at me as if I just tried to sell her a used car instead of a potential lifeline. What do you think this is, the Twilight Zone? I mean, I get it. A janitor showing up with a jar of goop. Let the skepticism commence. I could feel the weight of every disapproving glance. That night, I was pretty sure I'd face a firing squad instead of a healing hero's welcome. There's no way you can help her, she scoffed. Those words hit like punches, one after the other. What do I know? I clean floors. My education consists of dodging questions about how to remove gum from carpet. But what she didn't know was that I, a guy scrubbing toilets, might just have a secret up my sleeve. And hey, the best things in life rarely come packaged in a diploma, right? But those first encounters, they weren't promoting my ideas or my dignity, that's for sure. Eleliana herself, she was in a world of her own, caught between despair and that stubborn glimmer of hope, deep down, hoping against hope that just maybe, something could change. Each moment with her became fuel for my determination. If I can make her see the person behind the uniform, I might just make this work. All the obstacles weighed heavily on my chest, making it hard to breathe. Yet through the challenge came those tiny sparks recollections of my daughter's laughter, the warmth of my late wife's voice encouraging me not to give up. And yeah, I found humour amidst the doubt. I laughed at myself thinking, I'm basically a midnight pizza delivery service, but instead of pizza, it's hope in a jar. So I kept pushing. Because let's face it, rebuilding everything from zero. It feels like walking uphill on a treadmill set to impossible. But we all know storms tend to blow over, and sometimes when you're soaked to the bone, that's when the sun breaks through. The hospital room felt like a tomb, silent save for the whisper of machines. Eleliana lay there, a fragile shadow of the formidable CEO she used to be. Every moment weighed heavily, every breath a struggle. Nothing is working, she murmured, the weight of defeat pulling her deeper into despair. But then a knock. The door creaked open. Jonah, with trembling hands, stepped into her world. He thought of his daughter waiting at home. He thought of the love he lost. Just let me try, he whispered, holding out the jar. And in that instant a flicker ignited in her eyes, a spark of hope amidst the choking darkness. You want me to trust this? She shot back, doubt laced in her voice. Jonah stood firm. I know it's simple, but sometimes it's the simplest things that save us. Silence fell thick between them. Then Eleliana heard the truth in his voice, raw and unfiltered. It pierced her armour. It was the moment she had longed for. I don't have anything to lose. She breathed, the weight of her words lifting just a little. As Jonah applied the remedy, time slowed. The world outside faded. Was this desperation or a chance? Minutes vanished into an eternity, but finally something shifted. A spark of warmth coursed through her. Relief. What is this? Eleliana gasped, astonishment blooming across her face. Jonah's heart raced. I told you, it's hope. It's healing. The walls between them crumbled. The past fell away. In that quiet moment, hope flourished. She saw him not just the janitor, but a man carved by struggle much like her. Their stories intertwined. The strain in her chest began to lighten. Maybe there was more to this remedy, more to their connection. Against all odds, they were rising, from despair to possibility. In the shadows of the hospital, a new journey unfolded, one where labels faded and healing began. The boardroom was packed tension, simmering in the air, like a summer storm ready to break. Eleliana Mercer stood at the head of the table, her once frail frame now radiating a newfound strength. The lights above flickered as she addressed the board members, casting a spotlight on the quiet power she had rediscovered. We can no longer ignore the untapped potential of unconventional healing, she stated, her voice steady, echoing in the silent room. Murmurs erupted, but she held her ground. She had spent too long at the mercy of others' doubts, and she would no longer allow their prejudices to dictate her path. Just a week earlier, Jonah had stood beside her in the shadow of that very table, the air thick with skepticism. But now he was her rock, a steady presence that faced the harsh scrutiny of Mariah and the others, who watched her rise with disbelief. At the mention of expanding their research initiatives toward alternative remedies, Jonah caught her eye. A fleeting moment, a shared glance spoke volumes, a silent understanding that they were no longer bound by labels. Whatever misgivings they faced together were small compared to the innovations they could create. As the meeting culminated in a resounding vote of confidence, the headline flashed across the screen behind them. A revolution in healing CEO embraces unconventional wisdom. Jonah felt a quiet smirk tug at the edges of his mouth. The scars of their past had sharpened their resolve, but now shone as badges of honor. Yet even in this triumph, Eleliana understood that success doesn't erase the scars. It simply brings them into the light, reminding her of the battles fought and the connection forged amid the chaos. With her hand resting on Jonah's shoulder, she knew there was still much work to be done, but this victory fought against all odds was just the beginning. In reflecting on the journey of Eleliana and Jonah, I find myself pondering the nature of power trust and the haunting call of revenge. For so long, Eleliana wielded her position with a fierce ambition, while Jonah's invisible labour had cast him into the shadows. Yet through vulnerability and unexpected connection, they forged a bond that shattered the preconceived notions of who should save whom. As Eleliana embraced the simplicity of Jonah's remedy, she reclaimed her life not just from illness, but from the suffocating expectations of her lofty title. It raises an uncomfortable question. Is true power found in our status or in the humility to recognize others' worth? Meanwhile, Jonah's leap of faith in bringing forth a home remedy was both a personal risk and a courageous act of defiance against institutional disdain. Could we argue that sometimes vulnerability is the strongest weapon we possess? In a world quick to dismiss the unconventional, we must ask ourselves, does revenge against a system that marginalizes us ever lead to true justice, or does it merely perpetuate a cycle of hurt? When our heroes rise from the most unexpected places, perhaps it's time to redefine our ideals around success and strength. What do you think? Is revenge ever justifiable, or does it fuel a cycle of pain? Share your thoughts and stories below. The journey of healing is one we all navigate. Let's explore it together. As we consider these perspectives, remember sometimes the most profound strength lies in the bonds we create through love and empathy, transcending titles and embracing the beautiful complexity of the human experience.